All right, so here we are. We're going to come into the box turn, which by most is considered turn 4 on this track. Now, this turn, very similar to turn 3 in the respect that we're going uphill. Okay, so our entrance to this turn is important because we'd rather sacrifice the entrance a little bit and get ourselves a great shot off of the exit. All right, so coming into this turn here, I'm usually on the brake a little bit more than halfway down this here straight, and then I use the brake to rotate the cart in. Now, I'm not lock-up brake like I am in turn 1 or turn 2. You know, I'm just giving this a little bit of a stab almost, if that makes some sense. Giving a little bit of a stab, riding it in a little bit, letting the cart get some rotation. You can see I don't quite make it all the way to the right-hand side of the track. Some people do, some people don't. You know, you just got to test it out and see what works best for you. Now, famously on the old Oakland Valley track before they repaved it, right in this area there was a little bump. All right, so everybody would ride the left side of their cart on this bump, which would help sort of lift your left rear off the ground. I guess I'm not really going for that whole idea anymore because it's not really there as much. But, you know, that's just where I'm comfortable riding. And I hit that first apex there, and you can see the cart sort of slides up into the center of the track for me. Again, I got a good rotation. I used my brake pedal. I got the cart a little bit sideways, and it sort of slid its way up into where I wanted it to be. You can see there's a slight bit of, counter correction here. But you can see right after this, I am aiming right again to hit that apex right there. This is important. You want to get a great exit off this turn, get some good speed before the hairpin. All right? So I'm coming down. Now, just so you guys know, there's the beginning of the race again. That's great. Everybody say hi to Carl over there. All right? I think we're about 8 minutes in. So as you guys know from before, all right, we want to put a little bit of maintenance throttle in as we're going through this turn. All right? Let's back it up a hair. You can see we get a good rotation in, okay? We hit that first apex. We're off the brakes. We're in the maintenance throttle right now, halfway through the throttle, okay? I am going to go full tilt back on the gas pedal right before the second apex, okay? But it is important to maintain your throttle through this turn. Again, we're driving a two-stroke here, guys, so if you lose that back pressure, if you lose that resonance in the exhaust, you're pretty much screwed, all right? So maintenance throttle, back full throttle right before the apex, and you guys are going to ride it out right to the right-hand side of the track. I'm not positive, but I think most of this rubber over here is from the supermoto bikes that they run here. I don't know that any of the carts get out quite that wide. Maybe they do, and I'm just doing it a little differently. My cart's a little tighter than most, so you can see some guys use this apron a hair. I hit this turn pretty good, and I didn't have to use it. All right, so next, we're coming into the hairpin, which is everybody's favorite. Okay, so here we are. We're going to approach the hairpin turn. Now, this turn, very important. I find a lot of guys can gain a little bit of time or lose some time here on this turn. The key is coming into this turn here. I would say the braking zone pretty much tends to be right along this red line. Not really sure what the significance of this red line is. If somebody knows, just comment and let me know. But I know the beacon's a little bit behind it. So we're here at this red line. We're braking, we're coming in. We want to get to the left-hand side of the track. The sooner we can get to the left-hand side of the track, the better, okay? And I'll show you why. As we're coming in here, you'll see that my cart on my initial turn-in, okay, my cart is still sort of pointed in this direction. Ideally, I'd like to have it a little bit more like this. Get that left rear tire over a little bit more or something like that, sort of straighten the cart up a bit. It'll actually make this turn not quite as sharp, which should, help to not bind the cart up quite as much. A lot of guys approach this turn the way I do. I'm just giving you an ideal situation in a perfect world. Now, turning in here a little bit after the apron, again, I always tend to have a little bit of understeer. I'm a little bit on the brake pedal here. I start to get off it right about now, and I get back onto the gas pedal. You can see my foot went down ever so slightly. I didn't go down halfway, 3/4 way. I went down maybe a quarter of the way onto my gas pedal. It's very important to maintain a little bit of back pressure, a little bit of resonance in the exhaust, okay? This way we don't totally lose our power, all right? And I'm just holding it there, and I'm just maintaining it. I'm off the brake now, okay? I'm not going to push my foot down on the gas. If I do that, I'm going to bog this cart right out. You can see my chassis is twisted in all sorts of different directions right now. All right, so I'm going to ride through. I'm just holding maintenance throttle here. Maintenance throttle here. I'm letting the cart ride itself out. You can see I'm unwinding the cart slowly, okay? And right about there, you can see I get back on the throttle. I'm 3/4 of the way on the throttle right now. I'm really not full speed. I might be here, but I'm not supposed to be. All right? And I probably was. That's why I had to lift a little bit for this turn, okay? Lift a little bit for this turn, get into it, ride the inside of this curb here. Some guys go out a little wider and sort of make this more like, I don't really know if an S shape is the right thing to say, but I find because I'm driving this really stiff cart that I need to get my left-hand side up into this curb to get, take advantage of this bump right here to really get the rotation. All right? Some of the other guys, you guys that are driving Tony karts and Borels and stuff like that, they're getting out a little bit wider before they get in here. So if I'm backing up just a little bit here, bear with me. All right, some of these guys are sticking more up into here, and they're sort of making this more of a sweep. Again, I'm driving a real stiff cart. This thing is a hassle to drive. Let's see, what was our last lap here? Ooh, last lap was a 40.85. That's pretty good. Swinging in, hit that bump, okay? Now, I'm back on the gas pretty much full throttle right after I hit this apex on this inside turn right here. All right? Come through. You can see I'm not quite all the way on the gas yet. As soon as I hit that bump, I feel it. I'm back on the gas. Now, you guys in the softer carts, this isn't a big deal. You can sort of ride right to this blue right here. All right? My cart, you're going to see me lean forward. I like my ribs. I don't want to bruise them. I lean forward. It sort of helps the rear get up over that without getting too bound up. All right? I see so many guys that are a little nervous coming into this turn. They let go of the gas. They coast a little bit through it. They're afraid to get back on the throttle because it is a very fast 90-degree left-hand turn. There's a pretty significant elevation change. You're coming uphill for the most part here on the approach. But as soon as you hit that left, you're coming downhill on an off-camber straightaway into a bit of an off-camber turn. All right, so a lot of people just lose time here because they let themselves get in their own head. You can get a lot of grip through this turn if you hit this turn the right way. All right, so as we approach this turn, this is going to be very similar to the way we approach the box turn. And what I mean by that is we're going to lift off the throttle. We're going to give the brake a quick stab. And that stab of the brake, in the circumstance of my cart, that stab of the brake is going to be to rotate the rear end a little bit. Again, you'll see I turn in a little bit early. I use the brake to rotate that rear. Once I feel that rear is into the position I want, I'm going to get right back onto the throttle. So it's a lift, a stab, and right back onto the throttle again. So you can see here, I've lifted. I'm just getting ready to stab the brake. I set the cart. It gets some rotation right there. I see the rotation coming. I feel it, and I'm right back on the gas. I'm 3/4 throttle, and now I'm pretty much full throttle right before the apex, and we ride this turn all the way out. You can see there are some bumps in this turn too. All right, so if you take this turn a little bit too wide, you can see right here there's a bump. If the center of your cart hits this bump, your cart gets light, and your cart's going to fly right out towards all this grass. All right, make sure you keep it in nice and tight. You're turning in appropriately. Again, like I said, don't be afraid of this turn. All right, this is a pretty good turn. You can see we're going downhill. It's a bit of an off-camber brake zone coming up. All right. All right, so we're nearing the end of the first lap here, okay? This is your turn onto the straightaway, all right? So this is a really important turn in the respect that if you don't maintain proper RPM and proper speed through this turn, all right, you're not going to get a very good shot onto the straightaway, which is definitely going to lose you a few tenths of a second. All right, so everybody that's ridden this track knows that this is the new part of the track. This was just paved last year. There are some waves in the surface. We can see it here. To be very honest with you, you can actually use those waves to your advantage, all right? It can really help you feel rather than see where you're supposed to stab the brake, where you're supposed to be on it, where you're supposed to turn in, etc. So You can see we had a little bit of oversteer coming out of the turn. We ride it out pretty good. All right, now, right in here is where the waves begin. All right, and you're going to be able to see right by the front of my bumper. I mean, you're going to see where the front of my bumper nearly gets sucked down into the track. That's how good that wave is. You can see everybody bottoms out here. Some guys are wider than most. Some guys put their right rear off here. The minute that I get past that big bump, I get into the bump, I'm coming out. Now the cart settles back down. Now I stab and I'm on the brake. I'm holding the brake in pretty good. And you can see, you do get jostled around a little bit. You can see my, you can see my right foot sort of bumping up and down. I get sort of jostled a little bit, but that's all right. Now, this is very similar to turn 3 in the respect that you can see where the two surfaces were paved. There's a distinct line that runs right up the center of the track. All right. If you're on this right-hand side of this line, you're pretty much screwed. You are going to get sucked right out there, and you are going to miss the apex getting onto the straightaway. So you got to do what you got to do to get over into this left-hand side, especially in a tighter cart like this. If you're driving something like a shifter, you do need to go out, a little bit wider. You need to sort of get rotation in here and get a straight shot for the straightaway. But for these carts, we're just trying to, maintain some momentum. Turning in here, I mean, anybody that doesn't know anything about slip angle, you can see we got some pretty cool slip angle going on with this front right tire. All right, we're coming downhill now. That thing is really digging into the track hard. All right. I'm kind of holding the brake in a little bit longer than I'd like to here, but I can see I'm not getting the rotation that I was really looking for yet. And there's the rotation right there. The cart is starting to slide a little bit. We're getting some rotation, which means now that I've got that little bit of slide, that little bit of rotation I'm looking for, I am off the brake and I am back on the throttle again. All right? Now, most guys that I watch, there's a couple other really good guys that drive at Oakland Valley, some of the senior guys. I know Adam Rylance, for example, posts some of his videos onto YouTube too. If you get a chance, definitely check his channel out. He, pretty much gives you a good view of his feet. As he's driving. A lot of these guys, they sort of hit this curb right here, right at the white. Unfortunately, I am aiming to try to do that a lot of the time, but because this cart pushes so hard, I can't quite usually get there. I usually get to it right at the red, okay? The reason you want to sort of touch this curb here is because once you touch this curb with your, left side tire, it's actually going to help pull you around this turn and help to rotate you a little bit. All right, so I sort of hit it. I get to it. Now, this over here, if you're a first-time guy coming to Oakland Valley, do yourself a favor. Do your cart, your axle, your chain, your sprocket, your ribs. Do everything a favor and just don't even touch this. I have videos of guys hitting this thing so straight on that they go 3 feet in the air, they land, and then they have to pull off into the pits because they've bent 7 different things. All right, so do your best to avoid this right here. I mean, you can see this. It's pretty sharp. This is probably a 6-inch, 6-inch jump. I'm just going to call it a jump because that's what it is. You can see people leave the track and re-enter right there. So missing that, we're coming back onto the straightaway. We're coming straight down. Tim usually hangs out right here, so make sure you give him a thumbs up or something like that. I guess he didn't want to do anything cool. He has his back turned to me right now. And then you're on the straightaway. You're coming back for turn 1, all right? And that's pretty much that. All right, guys, so that pretty much wraps up a lap of mine at Oakland Valley. If you guys have any questions, or comments or whatnot, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I'd love to answer a few questions if anybody has any. Like I said, a lot of guys drive this track a little bit differently in certain spots. Again, I'm adjusting to a bit of understeer in the vast majority of these turns. I've seen some guys enter turn 3 and even the turn before the straightaway quite a bit wider than I normally do. But, if you guys have any questions or if there's something maybe that you feel you do a little bit differently than I do, feel free to leave it in the comments section. We'd all love to read it and see. And, if you guys have any questions at the track, feel free to talk to Tim. Tim is an excellent guy. He'll help you guys with just about anything you need help with. Same thing goes for his brother Jeff or his mom Colleen. They all just do a terrific job running the track, and they really just create this this perfect race environment for everybody. All right. So glad you guys took the chance to watch this video. You know, like, comment, and all that good stuff. And hope to see you guys on the track soon.